Spirit of the Lord God is upon me, because the Lord has anointed me. He has sent me to bring good news to the oppressed, to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives and release to the prisoners, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor and the day of vengeance of our God, to comfort all who mourn, to provide for those who mourn in Zion, to give them a garland instead of ashes, the oil of gladness instead of mourning, the mantle of praise instead of a faint spirit. They will be called oaks of righteousness, the planting of the Lord, to display his glory. Here ends the reading. A psalm selected for this morning, for today, is Psalm 121, which can be found on page 779 in the Red Book of Common Prayer. We will say the psalm in unison. Psalm 121, page 779. I will lift up my eyes to the hills, from where my help comes.
My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. He will not let your foot be moved, and he who watches over you will not fall asleep. Behold, he who watches over Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord himself watches over you. The Lord is your shade at your right hand, so that the sun shall not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve you from all evil. It is he who shall keep you safe. The Lord shall watch over you going out and your coming in from this time forth evermore.
A reading from the Gospel according to John. Jesus said to his disciples, "Do not let your hearts be troubled. Believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house there are many dwelling places. If it were not so, would I have told you that I go to prepare a place for you? And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and will take you to myself, so that where I am, there you may be also. And you know the way to the place where I am going." Thomas said to him, "Lord, we do not know where you are going. How can we know the way?" Jesus said to him, "I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. If you know me, you will know my Father also. From now on, you do not know him. From now on, you do know him and have seen him." Here ends the reading.
I want to welcome all of you to St. Andrew's Episcopal Church. The director is Father Spencer Potter, who is sitting up behind the altar. And to thank him for the use of this church, but also to thank you. We come together to remember Reggie and all of the good works that he has done, especially in the field of music. But I have to admit that the way that I first met Reggie had nothing to do with music. It had to do with the Coconut Grove Sailing Club, of which he was a member. And we had work days at the sailing club, and one of the things that he remembered was the fact that my wife was painting the walls of the men's room, and he came in as the Commodore and he said, "I can't believe this, that she's painting this room." And that was the beginning of a long relationship. And so I know Reggie better on the boat than I do in the concert hall. But later, as we came together to deal with his illness, and I saw him many times in the hospital, he's such a remarkable person. And of course, these last few days, I found out how remarkable he really is and what he has done for this community in the field of music. As I said to somebody earlier, I'm one of those people that listen to you. Every concert has to have an audience. And so is the opportunity for many of you, or some of you, I guess, that are going to have something to say at this point. And I would ask that it be said from the lectern over on that side of the church. Well, I just want to say that this service is a service to remember life and to celebrate life. And to realize that as we are here this afternoon, Reggie is no longer in the tremendous pain that he was in, and hopefully addressing comfortably and watching us do our thing. But that's what funerals are all about. They're really for the people like yourselves and us who have to carry on this life until we enter the next life. And so we give thanks for what Reggie has, contribution he has made in his life to the world, and especially to the community of Miami and the music here in Miami. So we say, God bless you, Reggie. We hope you're resting comfortably, and at this time, those persons who are going to speak may do so.
It's really hard when someone like Reggie passes. So I want to honor him in a certain way. So with all of his fellow horn players, please stand up. I know there's a bunch of you here. There you go. Let me just say this about you all before you sit down. He wanted all your bad notes to be put in his casket so he could take them all. And he said that to me a lot of times. So now you guys stay up. You guys stay up. Now, all of his former students and current students, you guys stand up. Let's see who's here. Everybody, all the students. And how about anybody that played under Reggie in any group ever? How about you guys stand up? And fellow teachers, the people that were music teachers with him. That's really good. So everybody can see just how much Reggie touched people. And there's so many things that I could say. We were neighbors. We went back 47 years. I know that Reggie loved Carol like nobody else, and was loyal, and was supportive. You know that. I know that. He was great. He really was. And for his friends, he stood up for his friends, and he stood up for his causes and the things that he believed. He loved the people in the Alhambra Orchestra. I know you all were out there. And he also loved the University of Miami. And he loved the football team. Whenever we would play the University of Florida, I'd call him up, and he'd answer the phone. I hate the Gator. So I'm going to really miss Reggie. I'm going to miss walking over to his house and playing with him with the orchestra. So, thank you.
I first met Reggie when I was in the 8th grade. I was performing with my junior high school orchestra for the University of Miami music students, of which Reggie was one. And we were performing a little excerpt from Brahms, one of the movements that had a little French horn solo in it. And at that point, in the 8th grade, those 4 letters, S-O-L-O, were quite frightening. And, reduced me to quivering, knee-shaking fear. But I managed to carry it off and carry it through. And later, Reggie came over to me and told me how beautiful the solo was. But there was something quite a bit more special in what he did. Because at the time, my family life was not what you would call glowing. Where Reggie saw talked about it at length later on, was a very frightened and very traumatized young girl who was standing by herself, sort of separate. And I think what followed me through life, Reggie and I remained friends from that day. He was always there when I needed him. But what was so special about that moment in time for me was his tremendous perception. He was just, you know, a freshman or a sophomore college student. How did he get this kind of perception? That he saw beyond just a person. He saw truly what was inside me at that moment. And then he reached out to it. And again, through the years, he was one person I could say truly loved me because he saw me. He knew who I was. I didn't have to pretend about anything because, you know, he'd see through it anyway, so what was the point? And I always felt that love. And I always felt truly loved by him, as I truly loved him back and truly loved his wife, Carol.
I was one of Mr. Nicholson's students for about 2 years, and I also knew him for 3 years as a friend and conductor. And I'm just kind of here to help remember that man because he was the man who made me the musician I am today. He pushed me, he helped me. He made me see the art within me, and every day I really go into a lesson with him. Always just see through and say, no, you can do more. You can do more. And he taught me what music was. He taught me the meaning of music, life, what it means to really be human, what it means to be alive. And that through music, we communicate instantly. I didn't get to speak to him in the past couple months. It was hard for me. And I don't regret it now, but it's already passed. And at least the big thing I forgot, I was able to tell him was like recently. Thanks to him, I was able to get into the University of Miami with full scholarship, with pieces and the way he made me help me. So he's made my future. So he'll always be a big part of the work now. Thank you.
So, it's a very sad day. When I got the news the other night, I almost fainted, but it wasn't as if it was a surprise. It was coming. I've known Reggie since the second year that the Old Miami Youth Symphony began. And Savitsky was conducting that then. We used to rehearse at the at this place on Flagler Street, 47th Avenue, and Reggie was there all the time. And I've got to say that Reggie was the same person then as he is now. He never changed. He was a character, and we all loved him. And he was always praising people, and always encouraging us. And I adored him. One of the favorite things that I learned from him from playing with him with the Alhambra was this. He would say this, and I teach my students this, and they get it like that. He says, fade to transparency. And every time he says fade to transparency, as in a decrescendo. And just, I get such a joy out of that, and I pass it on to my students, and they understand. The other thing I picked up from him recently the orchestra was, he said, this is quite parochial, and I'd rather not use it amongst you adults, but I'm going to give you, when the horn players at brass, the woodwinds, have a toning. You must tone the first note. Ta, ta, there you go. Or if it were a downbeat, you go, ta, just like that. And it was just, it was holy. The man was just holy. He was spiritual. I love him, I love him to death. Always praised me, even lately when my playing isn't all that good like it used to be. But the character, also University of Miami, was pretty much a fixture there. Every time I was at the university, there was Reggie. He's walking around, he's in the student union, he's in the lunchroom, or of course in the orchestra, practicing. That was his life. I love Reggie, and I will never, ever, ever forget him. Thank you.
Now it's hitting me. So my relationship with Reggie is different. It's familial. And coming from our family, I have to say he married into a rather interesting bunch. And I remember when I first met him, it was, we don't really tease each other, we don't really kid with each other. We're pretty literal in our dealings as a family. And, you know, Reggie was pretty outrageous. I took her aside and I said, does he not like me or something? He said, he's kidding. And so anyway, but I grew to realize that's how Reggie was. And I live in New York, so I haven't been here. I'd see him on visits, and I just know how he loved his boat and all things nautical, and he would always say to me, you know, when you and your wife would come down, we're going to get you out in the boat on the bay, and it never happened, unfortunately. I went out there once and I was near comatose. I was so scared. I said, we just leave it right here. You got to actually go out into the water. But he was very reassuring, and you know, I just have to say the community, the fellowship of musicians. My dad was a drummer, and at his service it was just like tons and tons of fellow musicians, and I knew it was my father. He was always the guy, you know, I would hear the bing, bing, bing in the back room as he was practicing.